As a reporter following Angelica Hale's journey since her first viral performance, the sudden silence surrounding her career became one of the most puzzling shifts in recent talent show history. Here was a young artist who once commanded stages bigger than most adults ever dream of. A child whose voice could electrify an arena and freeze a judge mid-sentence. Yet after a few short years, she seemed to disappear without warning. Fans who once watched her week after week began asking the same uneasy question across social media. What happened to Angelica? And more importantly, did AGT actually derail her career instead of launching it? The speculation grew so intense that some fans jokingly claimed they turned into FBI-level investigators, scrolling through old posts like they were searching for hidden clues. But behind all the theories and memes was a very real sense of confusion. When a star rises as fast as Angelica did, people expect the trajectory to continue upward, not suddenly pause. Especially not someone who had already endured life-threatening challenges as a toddler and still managed to walk onto the largest talent stage with a confidence and fire that made even the judges emotional. Her talent was unquestionable, her impact undeniable, and her fan base enormous. That's why her sudden absence didn't just spark curiosity, it raised alarm bells. Where had she gone? Why had the media coverage faded? And how could someone with so much momentum simply slip into the background? As the questions mounted, one thing became clear. Angelica Hale's disappearance wasn't just a celebrity mystery, it was the beginning of a much deeper story, one that no one expected to unfold the way it did. From the moment Angelica Hale stood under the AGT lights, the world labeled her as the miracle girl, the undefeatable fighter with a voice too big for her age. But as a reporter observing the industry's inner workings, that glowing label quickly revealed itself as a double-edged sword. AGT didn't just introduce Angelica to the world, it framed her entire identity in a way that would later become almost impossible to escape. Producers leaned heavily into her emotional backstory, telling it again and again because it made for powerful television. And while the narrative touched millions, it also trapped Angelica in a story she had already outgrown. Behind the scenes, executives knew that branding is everything in showbiz, but this branding stuck so tightly to her that it practically became welded to her name. One insider even joked, "That AGT label sticks harder than a sticker on a new laptop. Good luck peeling it off." As Angelica grew older, she wanted to be seen as a real artist, not a walking inspirational headline. But the public expectation was set in stone. Stay young, stay cute, stay miraculous. That pressure didn't fade with time, it intensified. And it set the stage for everything that came next, including the unexpected shift that would shake her entire fan base. As Angelica moved through post-AGT life, her schedule became a whirlwind even seasoned performers would struggle to survive. She was invited to major events, red carpets, charity galas, national performances, and interviews stacked so tightly that even her own fans joked she was busier than a coffee machine on Monday morning. But beneath the glamorous surface, cracks began to show. As a reporter, I noticed the shift first. Fewer appearances, quieter social media, longer pauses between performances. The industry often forgets that Angelica was still a child navigating an adult workload. Rumors of burnout quietly circulated, nothing dramatic or scandalous, just the natural fatigue of someone pushed too hard, too early. Even insiders admitted that keeping up with the momentum AGT created was nearly impossible without sacrificing childhood, privacy, or emotional well-being. Angelica kept performing, kept smiling, kept delivering flawless vocals, but the weight of living up to the child wonder image was enormous. And yet, no one wanted to believe that this young star could be overwhelmed. After all, she survived a life-threatening illness. Surely she could survive fame too, right? But the truth is simpler. She was human, and humans reach their breaking points long before the cameras show it. One of the biggest misconceptions about Angelica Hale's so-called downfall came from something entirely natural: growing up. As she entered her teenage years, her voice began to shift, deepen, and strengthen, exactly as every young singer experiences. Yet for some reason, this normal change sparked an online uproar. Fans used to her high, crystal-clear child tone were suddenly hearing a richer, fuller sound. And while many celebrated her vocal evolution, others reacted with confusion, claiming she didn't sound like before. Well, of course she didn't. Puberty isn't optional, and vocal cords don't come with a pause button. One vocal coach even joked, if puberty could be turned off, every singer on Earth would buy the subscription. As a reporter, I watched this narrative unfold, and it was startling how many people believed the change meant something was wrong. It wasn't wrong. It wasn't a disaster. It wasn't an AGT curse. It was biology doing what biology does. But because Angelica grew up in front of millions, her perfectly normal vocal development became a topic of debate, adding unnecessary pressure to a teen already navigating identity, career expectations, and fame. As the years passed, a harsh reality surfaced. The entertainment industry didn't quite know what to do with Angelica Hale. Labels admired her extraordinary talent, but many quietly admitted that her AGT branding was too strong. Some producers believed audiences still saw her as the 9-year-old prodigy with the giant voice and inspirational background. They worried they couldn't repackage her as a teen or young adult artist without confusing the market. In simpler terms, Angelica became a victim of her own success. The industry wanted the old version of her, not the real version growing up behind the scenes. It's the same trap many child stars fall into. The world freezes them in time even as they continue aging. One executive jokingly compared child stardom to outdated phone models. People always want the older version, even when the new one is better. As a reporter, I saw how this perception slowed her transition into mainstream music. It wasn't that Angelica lacked talent, it was that the industry lacked imagination. And that made the next chapter of her story both unexpected and brilliant. Contrary to the rumors, Angelica didn't vanish because she failed. She stepped back because she was planning. While social media buzzed with speculation, Angelica quietly shifted her focus to rebuilding her foundation. She retreated from the high-pressure world of televised performances and began retraining her voice to match her maturing range. She studied songwriting, experimented with production, and used her time to rediscover the kind of artist she wanted to become. It wasn't a downfall, it was an intentional reset. Think of it like a software update. She stepped away temporarily, and yes, the loading bar took a while, but the final version was far better. As a reporter, watching this transition felt like watching an athlete train behind closed doors, preparing for a comeback stronger than ever. Her retreat wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a sign of wisdom. In the years fans believed she was missing, Angelica was anything but inactive. She used the quiet period to develop emotionally, artistically, and personally. She became a powerful advocate for children's health, speaking at events, raising awareness, and using her story to inspire families facing medical battles. She performed at private concerts and charity galas, events that weren't plastered across TV screens but mattered deeply to the people who heard her. She honed her musical identity, crafting songs that reflected her growth instead of her past branding. In a world obsessed with visibility, Angelica chose impact over exposure. One event staffer even joked, "She may not be on TV every week, but she works harder than influencers posting hourly." Her missing years were never about disappearance, they were about development. Angelica's reemergence came not with fireworks, but with quiet power. She posted vocal covers showcasing a voice that had grown deeper, richer, and far more controlled than before. Fans expecting the old Angelica were suddenly hit with a matured tone and sophisticated technique. The comments were filled with disbelief. "This doesn't even sound like her, this sounds better." Others joked, "Angelica Hale 2.0 just dropped." As a reporter reviewing her new work, it was clear that this wasn't a comeback, it was a rebirth. Her voice showed emotional nuance, technical discipline, and an artistic identity forged in silence. It proved the missing years weren't a setback, they were training arcs the public didn't witness. And the best part? She sounded more confident than ever. As speculation grew, I approached the question like a true reporter. Did AGT ruin Angelica Hale's career? After analyzing her timeline, her opportunities, and her evolution, the conclusion was clear and completely opposite of the viral theory. AGT didn't destroy her career. It created a foundation so massive that the world expected too much, too fast. The real struggle wasn't AGT, it was the unrealistic public expectation that she should remain a child prodigy forever. AGT gave her visibility, but it couldn't control how fans reacted when she grew up. It couldn't dictate the industry's hesitation towards transitioning child stars. And it certainly couldn't stop biology from doing its job. One producer even said, "People forget she was nine. Who expects a kid to maintain the same voice forever?" In reality, AGT opened doors, but Angelica had to walk through them on her own. And sometimes that journey requires stepping back before stepping forward. After years of investigation, interviews, and observation, the truth is unmistakable. Angelica Hale wasn't ruined by AGT. She wasn't pushed aside, forgotten, or lost. She was evolving. She stepped away from an identity she had outgrown and rebuilt herself into an artist with depth, maturity, and purpose. Her missing years weren't failures. They were chapters of growth the world simply didn't witness. Today, she stands stronger than ever, ready to step into a new era with the resilience of a survivor and the skill of a seasoned performer. If anything, AGT didn't ruin her career. It launched the first chapter of a much bigger story. And as one fan joked recently, plot twist, the missing years were actually the training montage. The world may not have understood her transformation at first, but now it's clear. Angelica Hale isn't a child star fading into memory. She's a rising artist preparing for her second act, and this time she's writing it her way.